Good morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, children.
Morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, children. Okay, children. Last time in our offline class, what did we do?
Ma'am, you had given us time to complete our work.
Okay. And we have done till
We,
past, present, and future. Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Right.
Ma'am, we have completed lesson 9 as well.
We have completed lesson.
Ma'am, a new name.
Okay, fine. Have we done the question answers of new name?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay, children. Today we are starting off with the last chapter of our syllabus, that is your lesson 10, Corvus, page number 108.
ma'am.
Okay. Open up your books on page number 108. Children, I'll tell you the general story. You want to listen to the audio first and then we'll discuss, or you want to listen to the story first and then you want to listen to the audio?
Ma'am, first audio.
Okay.
Audio.
Okay. Wait.
Audio, ma'am, audio. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Children, I'm sharing the screen. But nobody will interrupt in between, okay?
Corvus by Satyajit Ray. Professor Shonku has made a machine that can transmit human knowledge and intelligence to birds. He uses it to train a crow. After the training, Corvus the crow's demonstration at a conference of ornithologists in Santiago is very successful. Afterwards, Shonku and his friend Rufus Grenfell watch a show by a magician, Argus, who uses a lot of birds in his performances. Later, Argus comes to visit Shonku at his hotel.
14 November. Argus was 6 feet tall, with a parrot-like nose, slick and shiny hair parted in the middle, and a pair of spectacles so high-powered that they turned his pupils into a pair of tiny black dots. "What is the power of your glasses?" I asked him. "-20, he replied. "But that doesn't bother me. None of my birds is short-sighted." Argus laughed loudly at his own joke, then suddenly froze. His eyes had strayed to the cage. Corvus had been asleep when he came in, but was now wide awake and staring at the magician. "Ever since I read about him in the evening papers, I've been anxious to meet you," said Argus. "I too train birds. I appreciate how tired you must be. But if you could just let your bird out of the cage, just one sample of his intelligence." "It's not just I who is tired, so is Corvus. I shall open the cage door for you, but the rest is up to the bird. I can't force him to do anything." I opened the cage door. Corvus came out, flapped up to the bedside table, and with an unerring peck of his beak, switched off the lamp. The room was plunged into darkness. Only a pale green light from the hotel across the street flashed through the open window. Corvus flew back to his cage and pulled the door shut with his beak. I could see that Argus was struck dumb with amazement, and that he could read the meaning behind Corvus's action. He wanted darkness. He wanted to sleep. From under Argus's thin mustache, a soft whisper escaped his lips. "Magnifico!" He then spoke in a hoarse whisper. "I want that crow." I regarded him in silence. "I want that crow," repeated Argus. "Look at me, Professor. I am Argus, the world's greatest magician. Next month, I go on a world tour. Do you know what can make my wonderful magic 1,000 times more wonderful? It is that crow. I want that bird, Professor." As Argus spoke, waved his hands before my eyes like snakes swaying to a charmer's flute. If it had been anyone else in my place, Argus would have accomplished his object and got his hands on the bird. But Argus's plan wouldn't work with me. "Mr. Argus, you're wasting your time. It is useless to try to hypnotize me. I cannot accept your request. Corvus is not only my pupil, he is like a son to me and a friend." "Professor, do you realize that I am a millionaire? For that bird, I am willing to pay you 10,000 escudos." I stood up. "Mr. Argus, you can keep your wealth and fame. Corvus is staying with me. I want to sleep now, and so does my bird. Good night." Argus bowed and left the room. I closed the door and went to the cage to find Corvus still awake. Looking at me, he said, "Who?" in a tone which clearly suggested a question. "A mad magician," I told him. "He wanted to buy you off, but I turned him down, so you may sleep in peace." 16 November. I wanted to record the events of yesterday last night. but it took me the better part of the night to get over the shock. Before going to lunch, I went to my room, put Corvus into the cage, and gave him some food. By the time I finished lunch and came up, it was 2:30 p.m. As I inserted the key into the lock, a cold fear gripped me. The door was already open. I burst into the room and found my worst fears confirmed. Corvus and his cage were gone. I ran to Grenfell's room and told him everything. We went to the reception. "No one has asked for your room keys, sir," said the clerk. "The room boys have the duplicate keys. They might have given them to someone." The room boys didn't have to give the keys to anyone. Argus had cast his spell over them and helped himself to the keys. The concierge informed us that Argus had arrived half an hour earlier in a silver Cadillac and gone into the hotel. 10 minutes later, he had come out carrying a cellophane bag, got into his car, and driven off. But where had Argus gone? The concierge said, "If he wants to leave the city, there's only one road." We were off by 3:15 p.m. in a police car with 2 armed policemen. Before leaving, we found out that Argus had not returned home. I knew Corvus would not come to any harm, as Argus needed him. But it pained me to think how unhappy he must be in the clutches of his captor. Petrol stations on the way confirmed that they had seen Argus's Cadillac pass that way. After racing for more than 40 miles, we spotted a car gleaming in the sunlight, parked at an angle by the roadside. It was a silver Cadillac. As our car drew up, we could see that the Cadillac had swerved and dashed against a tree. But where was Argus? What was that next to the driver's seat? I poked my head through the window. It was Corvus's cage. I hadn't locked it that afternoon, merely put the door to. Corvus had obviously come out of the cage. And then, suddenly, we heard someone scream in the distance, a little way ahead. It was Argus. "Where is that bird? Corvus!" Suddenly, Argus stopped, for he had seen us. He stood with a revolver in each hand, near some bushes. With an ear-splitting sound, a bullet came crashing into the door of our car. This was followed by 3 more shots, the bullets whizzing over our heads. One of the policemen raised his voice threateningly. "Senior Argus, we are the police. If you don't drop your guns, we'll be forced to hurt you." "The police," moaned Argus in a hoarse voice. "I can't see anything." Argus was now within 10 yards of us. I realized his plight. He had lost his spectacles, and that was why he was shooting at random. Argus threw down his weapons and came stumbling forward. I knew that none of his tricks would work in this crisis. The policeman advanced towards him and retrieved the revolvers from the ground, while Argus kept groaning. "That bird is gone! That Indian crow!" "Shonku, that bird is here," said Grenfell. I looked up And sure enough, there he was, my friend, my pupil, my dear old Corvus, perched on the topmost branch of a tree and looking down at us calmly. I beckoned, and he swooped down like a free-floating kite and landed on the roof of our car. Then, carefully, he placed before us the object he had been carrying in his beak. Argus's high-powered, gold-rimmed spectacles.
Okay, children. So this you have heard the audio. Now we will come back to the explanation part. Fine. So who will tell me who were the characters of the story?
Ma'am, Shonku, Argus, Genfil,
Punishment.
Corvus.
Chongu.
Just a second, bachcha. There is
Ma'am, clerk.
which clerk?
Ma'am, the reception clerk of the hotel was also the character.
Okay, okay. Main characters. I think there's some network issue, that is why the screen is opening. So, okay, fine. So we have Professor Shonku, who is a scientist who has made a machine. This first paragraph is very, very important, children. So you can underline. This is Professor Shonku, who has made a machine that can transmit human knowledge and intelligence to birds. Now, when the explanation part of the chapter is going on, children, please understand that this chapter is written in a form of a diary entry. The scientist, it's through the diary entries of the scientist. Okay. Now he is in a habit of writing everyday's experiences in his diary. And through his diary, we come to know what happened in the chapter. Now, what is the work of this scientist? He has made a machine which can transmit human knowledge and intelligence to the birds. But his experimented birds, were not only for the sake of experiment. They were like a part of his family. He had a deep respect for them. He treated them like a fellow human being with a sense of responsibility, respect, and regard for those creatures. Whereas there is another magician who is Argus, for whom the other animals or the birds that he uses in his magic tricks are only a subject to earn fame and money. He has no sympathy or respect or regard for those birds. Now, when this Argus in one of the conference of ornithologists are the ones who study birds. So, in one of the conference of ornithologists in Santiago, when he saw this corvus bird, he was mesmerized and enchanted by the intelligence or impressed by the intelligence of this bird. And he thought that there can nothing be a better bird or an assistant for his magic tricks other than Corvus. So that is why he has gone to Professor Shonku requesting him, initially a request, requesting him that please, I want to buy your bird, so please sell it off to me and it will be a big addition to my magic tricks. But to his surprise, Corvus, Professor Shonku, he refused his request. He said, and in that, this short-sightedness, that the magician Argus, he was short-sighted. He could not see far off things. He could only see things which were very, very close. So why this point is mentioned here, that will come across by the end of the chapter. Okay. So now Argus refused that, maybe it is like an object to you, but it is like a family to me, my pupil, my student, my son. So I don't want to sell it off to you. And initially, Argus wanted to see some of the magic tricks of the bird. On this, Shonku replied that, I am very there, professors, this magician, he said that, even though I know that you are very tired, but I want to see the tricks of your bird. At this, that was the first line where we come across that Professor Shonku does not treat the bird just like a bird, but as a fellow man or as a human. So, because he responded to Argus' request saying that it is not only me who is tired, even my bird is tired. He also wants to rest. So he said that he'll open the cage, and if the bird really want to show the tricks, he will come out. If he doesn't, I will not force. So Argus said, okay, fine. But the moment Shonku opened the cage, Crow, the corvus, it flew out of the cage, went straight away to the switchboard, switched off the lights, and went back into the cage. That was the sign that it wanted complete darkness and he wanted to sleep. Argus was, really taken aback by the intelligence, looking at the intelligence of the bird. But he did not want to budge from there without the bird. He said, I am really impressed. I really need that bird. For this, Argus said that. Okay, for this, Shanku said that you can keep your money, anything, whatever wealth you are offering me, you can keep it with yourself. I don't want any of them. I just need my bird and I really respect it. So you can please leave. At that point, the scientist, no, so not the scientist, the magician, Argus, for the first time, he tried to hypnotize. What is hypnotize? When you mentally control someone, you make them do whatever you want to by controlling somebody's action, by controlling the mind of someone. So he tried to hypnotize Professor Shonku, but Professor Shonku himself, he was a mentalist. He used to deal with the mental forces only. So he was mentally, he was very, very strong. He said, your tricks will not work on me. You cannot hypnotize me and you cannot get the work done out of me. So it's better that you leave. It's time to sleep, so good night. And the next day, when he went down for lunch with his friend Grenfell, and when they came back, they saw that Argus, this Professor Shonku, he saw that the door was open and he was really scared because he thought that maybe the bird has gone. Somebody has stolen it. And it was actually true. Somebody with the cage has stolen the bird. And then they inquired, he went to his friend, then they inquired the hotel staff, and they said that maybe the boys, they have the extra keys, so they might have given it to the magician for some money. But Shonku knew that he doesn't need to pay any money. He would have hypnotized the boys and he would have taken the keys, and that is how he managed to stole the bird. So then there is this concierge who is actually the informant who helps the people with the information. So he told them that, this is the way I have seen him going, and then they take two of the policemen with them, and they inquired at the petrol pump also, and later they could see a silver Cadillac, which was actually this magician Argus' car, but it was parked on one side of the road, and it was actually not parked, but it has hit a tree. So when they peeped inside, they could see that the cage was open, but neither Argus was there nor was the crow. And at this point, Vyom, don't do that, beta. At this point, Argus started shooting at the people at random sound. Since his spectacles were not there, he could not see. When the police warned him, he stopped shooting, but then he said, "Save me, please." And they were looking here and there for the crow, and finally the crow was perched high up on the tree, and they could see that it was holding the specs of Argus. And this is how this is another example of the intelligence of the crow, that, in the initial conversation, he had heard that the professor, this magician Argus, he could not see anything without his specs.
Spectacles.
Spectacles. So
Spectacles.
without the permission of his mentor, the Professor Shonku, Argus told the bird. The bird exactly knew what to do. Now you must be wondering that how did it come out of the cage? So children, when Professor went down for lunch, he had given food to Corvus. Right, before eating himself, he had given food to Corvus. He just closed the door. He did not latch it or locked it. Okay. And Argus also did not pay attention. He just picked up the cage, wrapped it in the cellophane bag, and brought it with him. But when he was busy driving the car, Crow managed to come out of the cage since the door was only closed, it was not latched. So it managed to come out of the cage and took the specs. That was the best he could think of. He took the specs without which Argus could not see anything, and he crashed the car. And this is how the crow, with his intelligence, managed to save himself from a magician Argus. Okay. Now, children, I am taking up the questions. Please open your books on page number 108. Okay, here is your first question, children. In para 5, how is Shonku treating Corvus? Who will answer me?
Mummy.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, in para 5, Shonku is treating Corvus as a human being with respect and dignity.
Okay, he is showing care, consideration, and respect. So you can write down
Yes, ma'am.
care, consideration, and respect. Okay. So here comes the second question. What kind of atmosphere is created by the first two sentences? Who will answer this? Yes. Who will answer this question?
Mummy. Vivan again.
Vivan, you have already answered the previous one, no, beta?
Okay.
Ma'am, can I answer?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, can I
Okay,
Ma'am,
come.
the answer is.
Ma'am,
the
can
answer
I
is
Wait,
created
Bacha, you
that.
will get the chance to say the second part, the next question.
No, ma'am.
Please.
The answer creates in type of climax which is seen to the audience, and ma'am, this tells that the professor was very intelligent. Professor was very intelligent, so he made a machine to transmit human knowledge.
Beta, the second question, what kind of atmosphere is created by the first two sentences?
Ma'am, the atmosphere was mysterious.
Mysterious.
Ma'am,
Yes.
mysterious.
Yes, that is the correct answer. Then we move on to our next question, which is on the next page. Let me open the page. Meanwhile, you can read the question. Okay, here comes your third question. Note how
Ma'am, may I
the diary entry begins. What does it tell us about 15th November? Okay. Yes, tell me.
Ma'am, on on the last paragraph of the 14th November, we see that it tells that the professor Shongu is finding Argus.
15th diary entry. See, there is a diary entry for 14th. There is a diary entry for 16th. There is no diary entry for 15th. So this shows that the beginning of the diary entry of for 16th November tells us that something very important yet shocking had happened on 15th November. It was upsetting Shonku so much that he needed time to get over it. So something very shocking had happened for which Shonku needed time to get over. Okay. Which word used in para 13 means the same as cast his spell? Yes, Angel.
Ma'am,
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 No,
hypnotize.
Angel is telling. No, yes, Angel.
Ma'am, hypnotize.
Yes, bacha, that is the correct answer. The answer is hypnotize. Fine. Now we move on to the next question. Let me get that question first. Okay. Why is Shonku worried about Corvus even though he knows the bird will be safe? He knew that even the magician, he needed the bird, so he will not harm it. But still he was worried. Yes, Trishita.
Ma'am,
Ma'am, Shanku was worried about Corvus, even though he knows the bird will be safe because the Corvus and the Corvus and Shanku were very attached to each other, like a family. So he thought that how unhappy Corvus would be, how unhappy Corvus would be to think that he is not with his fellow friend Shanku.
Fine, that is the correct answer, children. Corvus will be safe. Even though Corvus will be safe, it will be unhappy because he really loves and cares for his mentor, its mentor. And on the other side, Shonku understands that Corvus will be unhappy as a captive. You know, he was like a free bird when he was there with Shonku, but he was like a prisoner with magician. So that is will make it unhappy. Okay, let's move on to the next part.
Yeah.
Did Corvus know how important Argus glasses were? How can you tell that?
ma'am, ma'am,
Yes,
can I
yes, ma'am.
Great.
Yeah.
ma'am, can I
Prasang, I want the answer, bache.
Ma'am, Converse knew that how important Argus classes were important as when they were talking. So Converse was listening their conversation and they said that he asked the magician, what is the power of your glasses? So he replied it 20 and said that he is short sighted.
No, bacha. Understand the question. Did Corvus know how important Argus glasses were? How can you tell?
Ma'am, may I tell?
Yes,
Ma'am,
please,
may I tell?
Cavalier.
Ma'am, Corvus knew co- how important Argus's glasses were because when Professor Shonku and Argus are talking with each other, he had mentioned that he is short-sighted and his glasses and the power of his glasses is -20. And Corvus heard all of this conversation.
How do we know that?
Ma'am, can I tell?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, why when Argus has captured the bird covers after some time the Corvus has removed the Argus glasses, which tells us that he knows that how important glasses were to the Argus.
Yes. So to save itself from Argus, that was the first thing that Corvus did. He took off Argus's glasses because he knew. This shows that it knew that he won't be able to see anything. Okay. Children, I have shared the word meanings, which you need to do it in your notebooks in the class group. Please check.
Ma'am, ma'am, in the horse, you have written on the side, you have written rough voice. So we have to write rough voice or the one which is written in the book.
For which one, bacha?
Ma'am, it is the second image that you sent us, horse.
You can write down rough voice also.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, children, we have another 4 minutes. I'll give you another 1 minute. Come to your page number 112. Try to number the sequence of the events.
Ma'am, I have done.
Children, what will be the first sentence? First is already done. Professor Shonku brings Corvus the crow to a conference in Santiago. What will be the second one? Hardik, second sentence.
Fourth.
What, ma'am?
Beta I hope you have done the numbering of the sentences.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Vishisht.
Ma'am, in the second one is the last one. Shonku
Yes.
watches Argus show and Argus hears of car.
Fine, that is the correct answer. The last sentence is your second number. Shonku watches Argus show and Argus hears of Corvus. Third, Trishita.
Ma'am, the third one would be Argus visits Shanku wanting to buy Corvus to use in his shows.
That's the correct answer. So fifth sentence, the fourth sentence will be your sentence number 3. Kanha, what will be sentence number 4? Okay, who will tell me answer 4? The sentence number 4.
Ma'am, I.
Okay.
Ma'am, the fourth one is Shonku refuses to sell covers even for a high price.
Yes, that's the correct answer. Angel, sentence number 5, bitches.
Ma'am, answer number 5 is Argus steals covers from the hotel and drives away with him.
Okay, that's the correct. Argus steals Corvus from the hotel and drives away with him. Sentence 6, number 6, who will tell me? Arav, Bhatnagar.
Ma'am, what is the number 4?
Beta, fourth is the first one. First sentence is your number 4. Okay, Arav Bhatnagar, please tell me sentence number 6. Vivan.
Argus is unable to continue driving.
No, bache. Vivan.
Ma'am,
Vivan, I said Vivan.
yes, ma'am.
Beta, which will be the sentence number 6?
Argus. Ma'am, 1 second.
Ma'am, can I tell?
Okay.